Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. One of the things when I'm talking with the 6th grade teachers that they say their students are still struggling with, even though we in 5th grade go over 4,287 examples, is adding and subtracting fractions. And walking around seeing you guys work on your warm-up and argue over answers, it seems like adding and subtracting fractions is still difficult for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an adding and subtracting fraction assignment every day that, yes, will go in the grade book. Yay. And we're going to make videos every day of adding and subtracting fractions till we get it through your head how to do it so that it's second nature for you. This first one we're going to do is very similar to the first warm-up problem you had to do. Very similar. Not exactly the same, but very similar. When adding and subtracting fractions, Chloe, what's the first thing we have to have? We have to have a common denominator. So I take my denominators, 3 and 4, and I list their multiples. Multiples are not all the factors of it. It's not 1 times 3, or 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. 12 is our common denominator. So that was the first thing you should have done on number 1. God bless you. I changed these so that they're both over 12. I can't add or subtract until they have a common denominator. I'm going to do it all because I got too many people there like, you just add the numerators and add the denominators and you got 4, 12. Did I do something wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so I have to find an equivalent fraction. It has to be equal to something over 12. Knowing this is going to help you on the task cards today, too.
Really? Yay! He said we get new task cards.
All right, so I have to multiply by a fraction that equals 1. That fraction that equals 1 needs to give me a denominator of 12. That's how I pick my fraction that equals 1. Because there are an infinite number of fractions that equal 1. Joshua, give me an example of a fraction that equals 1.
1 over 1.
1 over 1. Kinley, give me an example of a fraction that equals 1.
1 over 1.
Okay, he gave me that example. Give me a different example, Kinley.
4 over 4.
6 over 6. Sahana, give me an example of a fraction that equals 1.
1,000 over 1,000.
1,000 over 1,000. Jason, give me an example of a fraction that equals 1.
40 over 40.
40 over 40. Mason, give me an example of a fraction that equals 1.
1 billion over
1 billion over
1 billion.
1 billion. Sanaya, what do all those fractions have in common?
They equal a whole.
They equal 1 whole. How can we tell?
Because it's the same number on the top as the bottom.
Good. The same numerator as denominator. If I'm clear your paper or clear your desk. If you're multiplying something by 1, you do not change the value. So now I need a fraction that equals 1 that's going to give me a denominator of 12. Alize, 4 over 4. Now, I said there's an infinite number of fractions that are equal 1. She picked 12 because 3 times 4 is 12. If I multiply the denominator by 4, I have to multiply the numerator by 4. And Alize, what is my new numerator? 8. 8 twelfths. Now, I need a fraction that equals 1. That's going to give me a denominator of 12. Mason, what fraction that equals 1 that gives me a denominator of 12 will I use? Right here. Four times what is 12, Mason?
4 times 3.
4 times 3 is 12. So I need to multiply that by 3/3. Mason, what is my new numerator?
9.
9. Notice, if you look at the first one, you can't just change the denominators. You also have to change the numerators. Now, Jaron, what do we do next? We can't simplify yet.
Oh, I mean add.
Add. So when you add 8/12 plus 9/12,
17.
what do you get, Jaron?
17 over 12.
17 over 12. Gus, what is wrong with the fraction 17 over 12?
You have to simplify it.
Why? How do you know?
Because it's improper.
It's improper. Very good.
So it'd be
Ari, can you tell me how to fix an improper fraction? Divide. Because this fraction says 17 divided by 12. 17 divided by 12. Ari, does 12 go into 1? No, it's not. So I'm only going to have a 1-digit quotient. Ari, how many times does 12 go into 17? 1 time. Ari, what is 12 subtracted from 17? 5. So I have 1, remainder 5. I need to change that into what, Izzy? A mixed number. Very good. I need to change this into a mixed number. So 1, remainder 5 is going to be what, Ian? 1 and 5/12. Very good. Now, I need to see if I can simplify 5/12, because anytime we're adding and subtracting fractions in my class, unless otherwise indicated, you must simplify them, like the answers to the warm-up. So I'm going to see what factors they have in common. That's a horrible looking 12. What factors they have in common. So, Raina, what are the factors of 5? 1 and 5. Are there any others, Raina? No, you're correct. So, let's see. Natalie, if it only has 1 times itself as a factor, what kind of number is it?
prime.
It is a prime number. Super awesome. That's going to help you with question 10 on your task cards. Now I need the factors of 12. The factors of 12. JJ. 1 and 12. Good. What else?
2 and 30.
Good. 2 and 6. And
4.
good. 3 and 4. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Kane, what do they have in common?
Both have 1.
They both have 1 in common. Anything else, Kane? If the greatest common factor is 1, then that fraction is already in lowest terms. So the sum of 2/3 and 3/4 is 1 and 5/12.
Yeah.
I want to show one other example because this will also help you on your warm-up. Let's take 1/2 plus 7/14. 1/2 plus 7/14. Sanaya, what do you notice about those two fractions, 1/2 and 7/14?
What? Can you say the question again?
What do you notice about these two fractions, 1/2 and 7/14? Ian?
They're both half.
They're both a half. 7/14 equals 1/2. Because 7 is half of 14. So that equals 1/2. That equals 1/2. So Jason, 1/2 plus 1/2 is?
One whole.
1 whole.
Oh. I just said one half.
1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. That'll help you on one of those problems up there. I don't have a remainder, so there's no fraction part. It's just a whole number. We're going to have adding and subtracting fractions every single day, at least this week for our video, and every single day, at least this week, for a warm-up activity that will be turned in for a grade. Boom shakalaka, peace out, God bless, love you, do something kind today, subscribe.